chapter 15, again, round 2, because you have 3 rounds. You have his 3 friends. There's actually 4 of them, but there's 3. The 4th one shows up at the last round. And so you have these 3 friends, and they take, one will speak. Job will come back and rebuttal what he has to say. Another one will speak, and then so we're on round 2. All the 3 friends have already had taken one whack at him, and here it comes again, and he says this, and it's kind of smart alecky, these guys. He said, it's Eliphaz that's speaking now. He's friend 1. Should a wise man answer with empty knowledge and fill himself with the east wind? Should he reason with unprofitable talk, or by speech with which he can do no good? Yes, you cast off fear. You restrain prayers before God, and your iniquity teaches your mouth, and you choose the tongue of the crafty. Your own mouth condemns you, not I, it's not me. You condemned yourself. Yes, your own lips testify against you. And some of your study Bibles will have in this first section, he's really saying, look, you don't pray and you stop others from praying. That is absolutely not. There's a lot of things, and maybe I'll pause somewhere and talk about some of this, is that these guys are saying to him is not true. See, we know the backstory. We know what's going on because we're privy to that because of this book. These friends don't know it, and Job doesn't know it. But Job knows that I'm really seeking God in this, and the world is coming unglued, but his friends are coming at him. Are you the first man who was born, or were you made before the hills? Have you heard the counsel of God? Do you limit wisdom to yourself? Are you the only one that has wisdom, Job? What do you know that we do not know? You smarter than us? And what do you understand that is not in us? But the gray-haired and the aged are among us. They're older people, they're on our side. As much older than your fathers. The consolation of God are too small for you. Is the comfort not enough? God's comfort not enough for you? In the word spoken gently with you, God, is that not good enough for you? Why does your heart carry you away? And what do your eyes wink at, that you turn your spirit against God and let your words go out of your mouth? You're turning away from God. Now the wicked will perish, he's going to say. Look at verse 17. I will tell you, hear me, what I have seen. I will declare what wise men have told, and not hiding anything received from their fathers, to whom alone the land was given. No alien passed among them. The wicked man writhes with pain in his days. Even the wicked will perish, is his point he's going to make. He says he does not believe that he will return from darkness, and he watches for the sword. Verse 23, he wonders about for bread, saying, where is it? He knows that a day of darkness is ready at his hand. And this is exactly what they've been saying all along. Wicked people get what you're getting. Wicked people, they get things stripped away from them. Not righteous people like you're proclaiming yourself to be righteous. So he's making this point. He stretches out his hand against God, verse 25. And acts defiantly against the Almighty, runs stubbornly against him with his strong and embossed shield. Therefore he has covered his face with his fatness and made his waist heavy with fat. He dwells in desolate cities and houses which no one inhabits, which are desolate to become ruins. He will not be rich. This is one of Job's rebuttals on this when he goes to this. The wicked don't prosper. They're not rich. They don't have wealth, and nor will his possessions overspread. Now that's true. The wicked do prosper, very much so prosper. Sometimes some of the most godly people are the people that are having the most difficult. You understand, we live in a fallen world. We live in a world that's really upside down because of what happened in the Garden of Eden. We live in a world that's completely not right. Now, you can go off on that because even in our culture, how things are just really upside down. The people that we champion are some of the most wicked people in our culture. And some of the people that are the greatest godly people are the people that get beat up the most because of their godliness. Well, the wicked, they all prosper. He's saying they don't. They don't. But he also says this, for their company of hypocrites will be barred, verse 34, and fire will consume the tents of bribery, and they conceive trouble and bring forth futility, and their womb prepares deceit. Yes, there's a judgment day, and I'm glad, Mr. Eliphaz, that you know there's a judgment day, because there really is a judgment day. For those that have prosperity and think they're right with God and they are blasphemous, there's a judgment day. There's a judgment, and he's going to talk about that in this. There's a judgment day for everyone. All of us will stand before God. Nobody gets out of that. Every knee will bow. Every knee will bow. The word every in the original language means, guess what? Everybody. Every knee will bow, and every tongue will confess that Jesus Christ is Lord to the glory of God the Father. Every knee will bow. Everyone will stand before God. There will be a judgment day for everyone. I was telling you guys some time back that there was a gal in our, I love her a lot, and she was having a hard time. She's out there in the foyer, and she said some things to me that were extremely blasphemous towards God, and I just shuddered inside. And I said, I've never had that kind of sense, I've heard lots of blasphemies around me, but this one was so bad. I shuddered inside. I said, don't say that. I said that is not safe right there, what you're saying. It's one thing. I understand not understanding God. I understand getting upset with God. I understand all those things. But when you start blaspheming and mocking God, there's a judgment day coming. Oh, there's a day coming for all of us. Well, chapter 16. So his thing was, the wicked perish, they don't prosper, and Job, what's going on with you? Must be because you're wicked. Job answered, he says, I have heard many such things. Miserable comforters are you all. You're just miserable. Shall words of wind have an end? You just blow hard, we'd say. Or what provokes you that you answer? If I also speak as you do, if your soul were in my soul's place, if I was in your place, I could heap up words against you and shake my head at you just like you're doing with me. But look at what he says. Look at verse 5. But I would strengthen you with my mouth and comfort with my lips and would relieve your grief. That's the way it should go down. That's what a friend does right there. I like what he just said there. He goes, if I was in your place, I could do exactly the same thing. I could come at you and say all these blowhard words that you're saying. But if I was in your place, I would bring comfort. I would try to help you. I'm surrounded by wicked people, is his point coming up. Though I speak, my grief is not relieved, and though I remain silent, now am I eased? And now he has worn me out and have made desolate all my company and have shriveled me up. I'm just dying here, witness against me, and leanness raise up against me and bear witness to my face. They gape at me, verse 10, with their mouth. They strike me reproachfully in my cheek. They gather together against me. God has delivered me to the ungodly and turned me over to the hands of the wicked. It's almost like a Bible verse right there about Jesus. It is a Bible verse. That's almost like a Bible verse. That's kind of weird. That's weird to say. That's like a Bible verse concerning Jesus. Remember that prophecy was they gaped at him with his mouth. It's the same kind of, though they strike at his cheek, and they're coming by. And isn't it amazing what he's saying there? Is that we love to belittle the downtrodden. That's what the whole caste system is. We're going to India coming up, and the whole caste system in India is all about those that are the cast-offs. They are the ones that are totally just thrown out. They're in the dumpster, as it were, and that's how we treat one another. God has delivered me to the ungodly and turned me over to the hand of the wicked. I was at ease, but he has He has scattered me. He also has taken me by my neck and shaken me to pieces. He has set me up for his target. His archers, now as you read this, you just hear a hurting man. This guy's hurting. His archers surround me. He pierces my heart and does not pity. He pours out my gall on the ground. He's just completely wounded. He breaks me with wounds upon wounds. He ruins me like a warrior. God is coming at me, and again, he doesn't understand why. He doesn't understand why. Although no violence is in my hand, verse 17, and my prayer is pure. O earth, don't cover my blood, and let my cry have no resting place. Surely even now my witness is in heaven, and my evidence is on high. My friends, they scorn me. My eyes pour out tears to God. Oh, that one might plead for a man with God. A man pleads with his neighbor. I need to connect with God, and when a few years are finished, I should go the way of no return. It's all said and done. I'm struggling. I don't know why this is happening, God. And when it's a few days in number, it's all gone. It's all gone. It does go by so fast, doesn't it? The Bible says, and he's going to bring this up as we go through this, is life is just like a vapor. Man, this thing flies by quickly. I was young. They were looking at some pictures before I came up here tonight, and some pictures of our last. We're doing a luau. You know that? That's to be fun, and a pig must die. That's sad, but it's a luau time with fire dancers and all that. But we're looking at when we did that last time, which was a while ago, and I was young and slim and extremely good looking. How the mighty have fallen, man. Just getting old. We're getting old. So are you. You're getting old. You that are young, it's just funny to watch people that are young. You just think you're going to look like that forever. No, you're not. No, you're not. It happens to all of us. But you hear this, life is just for a moment. It's just for a moment. And why this is a hard section, at least for me as we go through this, is you hear a man that's really, he doesn't understand, and he's really hurting, and his buddies, they're not helping him at all. And you hear this, my spirit is broken, my days are extinguished, my grave is ready for me. When you have somebody that's talking like that, they need empathy. They need prayer. They need to be directed to God where it's faithful and not be just beaten down like these guys are. Are not mockers with me, and does not my eyes dwell on their provocation, on their hostility? Verse 6. But he has made me a byword of the people, and I have become one of whom men who face men spit. I'm like one that just people walk by and spit on me. My eyes have grown dim because of sorrow, and all my members are like shadows. Upright men are astonished at this, and the innocent stirs himself up against the hypocrites, yet the righteous withhold his ways, and he has clean hands, will be stronger and stronger. But please come back again, all of you. Friends, come back again, for I shall not find one wise among you. Come on, say something that'll help me, but you're a bunch of idiots. That's what he's saying. My days are past. My purpose are broken off, even the thoughts of my heart. They change the night into day, and the night is near. And they say in the face of darkness, if I wait for the grave as my house, and if I make my bed in the darkness, if I say to corruption, you are my father, and to the worm, you are my mother and my sister, where then is my hope? If there's nothing for me except the grave, the Bible, he's saying here that I'm going to go in the grave and the worms are going to eat me, and I have no hope. Where's the hope? As for my hope, who can see it? Where's the hope? There's the target right there of the friends right there. I have no hope. There's always hope. There's always God. There's always Jesus. Will they go down to the gates in Sheol? Shall we have rest together in the dust? Where's my friends? I'm just going to go down in the dirt. I'm going to go down in the dust. And there is no hope. It's redirecting people when they get to this place of no hope. Even when the world has come unglued, there is still a God that loves us. And this is the thing. And this is the thing that, listen, as we go through this, and we'll get to chapter 19, we're going to see it. You'll see it again. You see these little flickers of hope for him, where you could see, okay, Job, what are you doing? His wife said, curse God and die. Just have it over with. Just off yourself. You're done. It's misery. And you see what he's holding on to. There is a trust that's there, even through the pain, even through the not understanding. There still is a trust that's there. I don't know why, God, but this is the handle that I'm holding on to through the midst of this storm. I'm going to have to trust you. Even though I don't understand, and I don't know why you're doing this, and I don't know why this is going down, I've got to trust in you. Come on, friend, say something good, Bildad, you little smart aleck. This little shoe-height, say something good. And yet here's what he says. Here's his friends. I have no hope. My hope is in the grave, that the worms would just eat me. How long will you put an end to words? Gain understanding, and afterwards we will speak. Why are we counted as beasts? You just think we're, regarded as stupid in your sight. He says, how long are you going to, why don't you just please shut up? That's how we translate that. Why don't you just shut up? What do you think we're dumb? We're like animals? That's how you treat us. You who, listen to this wording, you who tear yourself in anger. You who, pay attention when someone's cutting themselves. I had a friend that used to, if you look at this Hebrew word, it has the idea of pulling your hair out, You're tearing yourself. I had a friend that used to do that. He was bald in the front of this, and this was a guy that actually was a pastor for a while. He's now out of the ministry, but he'd get stressed out. He'd rip the hair right here in the front. And I always tell him, stop pulling on your hair. Stop pulling on your hair, and he'd pull his hair right there. And that's kind of what this wording is saying. He's pulling his hair. He's doing this. But you got to be careful, is that when you see somebody that's cutting themselves, and sometimes the pain inside is so great, and that's how they're dealing with it, is trying to get a diversion. And there's a lot of reasons why that. But the thing is this, that's kind of what they're saying here. Look, you're cutting yourself. That we would say that today if we're looking at this. They're saying, you're cutting yourself. Well, for Job, he wasn't. Accusations are flying at this guy. Shall the earth be forsaken for you, or shall the rocks be removed from its place? The wicked, again, same argument his friend had. This is what happens to the wicked. This is why you're going through that. The wicked, well, the lights of the wicked indeed go out, and the flames of the fire does not shine. The light is dark in his tent, and his lamp beside him is put out. The steps of the strength are shortened, and his own counsel casts him down. For he is cast into a net by his own feet, and he walks into a snare, and his net takes him by the heel, and his snare lays hold of him, and the noose is hidden for him on the ground. You're going to hang yourself. You get this. This is what wicked people do, Job. This is why you're going through this. Terror and frightened on him on every side, and drive him to his feet. He strengthens his starvation, and destruction is ready at his side. Verse 13, devours patches of his skin, and the firstborn of death devours his limbs. He is uprooted from the shelter of his tent, and he's just, what a disaster. The wicked, this is what happens. Their light goes out. They become nothing. This is why you're dealing what you're doing. Job, this doesn't happen to righteous people. This happens to wicked people. Let me tell you, have you seen that out there? That's not true. The memory of them perish from the earth. They just die and nobody even remembers them. And has no name among the renowned. He is driven from the light into darkness and chased out of the world. Verse 19, he is neither son nor prosperity among his people, nor any remains in his dwelling. Those in the west are astonished at his days, and at the east are frightened. Everybody dislikes him when he's alive, and when he's dead, nobody remembers. Surely such are the dwelling of the wicked, just like you, Job. This is the place of him who does not know God. Good help there, good friend. The question has to be asked, if you could step into the middle of this narrative, the question has to be asked, Job, why are you listening to these guys? I'd run them off right there. I'd say, shut your face. Go away. Go away. I will hit you with one of my pus marks. I get you, man. I'll mess you up. You know. How long will you torment my soul and break me in pieces with words? These 10 times you have reproached me. Verse 3, you are not ashamed that you have wronged me. And if I indeed have erred, my error remains with me. If indeed you magnify yourself against me and plead my disgrace against me, know then that God has wronged me and has surrounded me with a net. I don't know why this is going on or why God is doing this, but God's coming against me. But I want you to notice there's an opportunity for deep bitterness right here. Watch where he goes with this. He says, verse 7, if I cry out concerning wrong, I am not heard. If I cry aloud, there is no justice. Nobody's hearing me. God's not hearing. I have fenced up my ways so that I cannot pass, and he has set darkness in my path. He has stripped me from my glory and taken the crown from my head. He is breaking me down on every side, and I am gone. My hope has uprooted like a tree. I also kindled his wrath against me, and he has counted me as one of his enemies. That right there makes you stumble over what he just said there. He loves God, and yet, God, you counted me as an enemy. You know, you do know none of this is true, what he's saying here. This is just out of the pain. God has not counted him as an enemy. God is very proud of him, and yet this thing that's going on. Just because trials are coming upon you, I already talked to you about this. Just because you got difficulties in your life doesn't mean you're out of the will of God. You got to check it. You got to check it why things are coming after you, why things are going down. But you can be in the perfect will of God and still have issues and still have problems. And you just got to know that. You could be right where you're supposed to be with God and still have the world avalanche on your head. Right? This is a good example of it. The disciples are a good example of it. Put them in the boat. Jesus told them to get in the boat. He pushed them into a storm. The children of Israel is a good example of it. He led them into the wilderness. He led them into the wilderness where he knew that whole generation would die except their children. All right? Now, yeah, they had some learning to do there, but that was a harsh time. Maybe it's asking God, what do you want me to learn from this? And he keeps going here. He has removed my brothers far from me, and my acquaintances are completely estranged from me. Verse 14, my relatives, all my family have failed, and my close friends have forgotten me. Those who dwell in my house are my maidservants and have counted me strangers. Those that have hung out with those people, they know me. I'm an alien in the sight. I shall be called servants, and he gives no answer. I beg with my mouth. My breath is an offense to my wife. You need a breath mint, she says to him. It's interesting. Now, did he forget this? Listen to what he says next. Did he forget? Is it a language issue? I am repulsive to the children of my own body. Has he, and this is kind of interesting because in that, now he's rambling. He's rambling here. Has he just, was that a slip? Is that a translation issue? Some of the translations try to do it and say that I'm repulsive to my family, my family's children kind of thing. But, I have heard this over and over again when the loss of a spouse, and they say, I'm just waiting. I just heard this the other day. I'm waiting for him to come around the corner. There's that loss that's there. It's still not, just like it's not real that they're gone, and so you wonder if that's what's going on here. He says, my kids are, and you wonder if just kind of that sinks in, my kids are not there. Even the young children despise me. And I speak, and they speak against me. My bone clings to my skin, verse 20, and my flesh, and I have escaped by the skin of my teeth. There's where that little saying comes in, by the skin of our teeth. Have pity on me, O my friends. For the hand of God has struck me. Why do you persecute me as God does? And are not satisfied with my flesh. Although my words were written, they are, Oh, that they were inscribed in a book. Oh, we're reading it today. Oh, if you would have known then, you may have chose your word differently. And they were estranged on a rock and up in iron pen and led forever. Now look what he says. I love this. I love this. This is what there's a little moment of hope right here. Because you see this, he is down. He says, oh, that someone would write this down because this is horrible what I'm going through. Yet I know that my Redeemer lives, that he shall stand at last on the earth. And after my skin is destroyed, I know that in my flesh I shall see God in my new body on that new day. I know that my Redeemer, there's almost like this rally, David does this in the Psalms. You could just see he's so depressed. He's almost suicidal. Even at one point when his child was sick in the story of David, those that were with him were afraid to tell him that his kid had died because they thought he'd off himself. He was so depressed that they thought he was going to kill himself. And you see it in the Psalms, and then you see him rally. When did he rally? When he got his eyes on God. He says, then I entered the house of God, or then I lift up my eyes where my redemption draws from. It's when he got his eyes on God. That's where we get lifted up out of this. Where did Peter go? We start going under. When he was walking on the water, he was walking on the water. We forget that. He's the only one. Where's the other disciples? Mamby-pamby little babies. Why weren't they all dancing on the water? They could mock him all he wants. He got out of the boat. He was walking on the water. But just like us, when he got his eyes off of Jesus and onto the situation, he started going under. So easy. It's hard. It's easy when things are going well to talk about this stuff. It's super hard to get your focus back when the world has come completely unglued on you. I thought at one point when they were going through some pretty heavy stuff, I thought one time, I have said this in my head. I knew it was stupid, but I believed it. I will never laugh again. And do you understand that? He even says this in this, I will never have joy again. You know that's not true. However, I know that my Redeemer lives. And I know that he shall stand at last on the earth. And after this skin is completely destroyed, I know in my new body, in my flesh, I shall see God, whom I shall see for myself, and my eyes shall behold and not another. For my heart yearns within me. There it is right there. My heart yearns within me. You can do whatever happens in this life. When it's all said and done, I still love God. And you see that in him. That's where the hope is at. There's the handle. There it is. Loving God even when it's hard. And it's not that easy. I understand. I had quite a few people talk to me on Sunday after the message about their disappointment with God. So much so that I'm going to talk about it when I get back. I'm going to be gone a little bit. And then I get back. I want to talk about disappointment with God. I need to talk about those things. We need to put those things on the table from our book of Romans study, but also from here. But I see this, man. This is almost don't want to go. I almost want to freeze frame it right here. All right, just soak it up right here. I know our Redeemer live. I know he's rallying, and he's going to crash. If I say, how shall we persecute? How shall we persecute him? Since the root of the matter is found in me, be afraid of the sword of yourself, for wrath brings the punishment of the sword, that you may know there is judgment. There is a judgment day. All my friends, there's a judgment day coming. Okay. Friend number 3 now. Let's see what this little bonehead has to say. I want you to notice this. This is something I'll come up later with. Now, because I start getting a little cynical about these guys. And I know, think about Job, but with these guys. Job, and I'm going to tell you this right now because you'll forget it when we get to it in a month. But when Job received his healing is when he prayed. He didn't receive his healing until he prayed for his friends. He had to release that before his healing came. there's a huge, and we'll bring that up again, there's a huge point right there. Our healing doesn't come till you release the people that have hurt you. That's when healing comes. Well, we'll talk about that. I just said that because I smarted off about this guy and I don't like him. All right, just saying. Therefore, my anxious thoughts make me answer because of the turmoil, the tumult within me. I've heard the reproof. I've heard your insults about me. And the spirit of my understanding caused me to answer. I'm so smart, I'm going to tell you what you need to do now, Job. Do you not know this of old, since man was placed on the earth, that the trumpeting of the wicked is short, and the joy of the hypocrite is but for a moment? Verse 6, though his haughtiness mounts up on the heavens and his head reaches out to the clouds, yet he will perish forever like his own refuge, like his well, just those who have seen him will say, where is he? And the wicked, again, the same. You guys keep coming up with the same stuff. They'll fly away like a dream and not be found. That's what happens with the wicked. Only here for a moment, Job. That's, Yes, he will be chased away like a vision of the night, and his eyes that saw him will see him no more, nor will his place behold him anymore. His children will seek the favor of the poor, and the hands will restore his wealth. His bones are full of youthful vigor. He's young now, but it will lie down with him in the dust. He's young now, but he gets laid in the grave. He goes to the dust like everybody else. Though evil is sweet in his mouth, and he hides it under his tongue. He's hiding his wickedness. Again, this is all just kind of pointed at Job, For he has oppressed and forsaken the poor. Look at verse 19. This is kind of like, he's got like a little more, okay, I know now why this has happened to you. This is why. This is your issue, Job. For he has oppressed and forsaken the poor. And this is going to come up a couple times with these accusations. This must be what it is. That he has oppressed and forsaken the poor, and has violently seized a house which he did not build. Because he knows no quietness in his heart, he will not save anything he desires. Nothing is left for him to eat. Therefore, his well-being will not last. He is self-sufficient. He will be in distress. Every hand of misery will come against him. And bottom line, what he's saying here, look, you took from others. You hurt other people. When people were hungry, you didn't feed them. You didn't take care of people. That's what went on. The heavens will reveal his iniquity, verse 27, and the earth will rise up against him, and increase of his house will depart, and his goods will flow away in the day of his wrath, and the portion. Here's one thing that's really good about these guys. They do know that there's a judgment day coming. The portion of God for the wicked, and the heritage appointed to him by God. That's why I got your issue, Joe, and this is going to come up again. A couple of them are going to say this, even going downstream here, is that the reason why? Because you didn't treat people right. Because you cheated. Now, I'll get to that. Okay. Because the next guy really hits that. He really hits that kind of slanderous accusations against him. Well, Job here, he answers again. He says, I like what he says here. He says, listen carefully to my speech. Let me talk for a minute, and let this be your consolation. Let me just say something to you. Bear with me, and I'll speak. After I've spoken, then keep mocking. Keep mocking. Keep smarting off. That was another way to say it. Let me say something here, and then go ahead and keep smarting off to me. Now, why he's going to contradict this thing, what they're saying. They're saying that the wicked, they don't prosper. He's going to come back. And why do the wicked live and become old? Yes. Become mighty in power. Verse 8, their descendants are established with them in their sight, and their offspring before their eyes. Their houses are safe from fear. Neither is the rod of God upon them. Their bulls breed without failure. Their cows and calves without miscarriage. They send forth their little ones like a flock, and their children dance. And this is the wicked. They sing in the tambourines and the harps, and they rejoice in the sound of the flute, and they spread their days in wealth, and in the moment they go down to the grave. Yet they say to God, they shake their fist at God, depart from us. Yet, and for we do not desire the knowledge of your ways, who is the Almighty, that we should serve him. That's what they're saying. And what profit do you have if we pray to him? So what if we pray to him? Indeed, their prosperity is not in their hands. Their counsel of the wicked is far from me. The wicked do prosper, even those that are shaking their fist at God. Sometimes they got big bank accounts and everything's going well. Their kids are dancing. Everything is going well. So no, that contradicts exactly what they've been saying against him. Sometimes the wicked do prosper. We are really in this life for such a short time. We're really here for such a short time. And it really is not about material wealth. It's about really knowing God. It's not about the external, it's about the internal. It's really about knowing him, having that peace of really knowing him. I met people in Africa that had absolutely nothing. I was kind of just blown away when this gal's home, and she wanted to show a couple of us how she was making a living, and she was making soap, and had these chemicals and how she was making this soap. And so we sat there and spent like I don't know, a couple hours with her, and I looked at this gal had nothing, materially had nothing. She was making this soap just trying to for food for her and her kids, because over there it was. It's because of the AIDS epidemic over there, which is huge, and these guys will go around and they have 4 or 5 families, and so this gal had the HIV virus, had not passed it on to her kids yet, and so that's why we were over there trying to minister to these people and just love on them, and we had long story, but this gal, I looked around, she had nothing, but you know what she had? She had everything. I have everything, and I have nothing compared to her. Her walk with God was so deep. Her love for Jesus was so deep. And the materialism blinds us. Man. And so the wicked prosper. Sometimes the prosperity within the church is the very thing that's hurting the church. Man, that's heavy stuff. Where are we at? Let's just jump down. Verse 19. Right? That's a good place. For he has so oppressed and forsaken the poor. That's where we're at. That's why that was there. I underline that. That's what the problem is, Job, is that you are. I'm not even in that chapter. I'm in the wrong chapter. Chapter 21. That's it. In the nursing home, they help me with this sometimes. They just take and turn that over. Okay. Well, just saying. Why do the wicked prosper? And they do. They do. Can anyone teach God knowledge? Verse 22, and since he judges those who are on high, one dies in full strength. Okay? The other one's sick when he dies. They lie down alike in the dust, verse 26, and the worms cover them. Everybody dies. The healthy and those that are not healthy. Those that have everything, everyone dies. Everyone goes into the ground. You're telling the wrong story, verse 27, he says to them. Look, I know your thoughts and the schemes which you would wrong me. For you say, where is the house of the prince, and where is the tent of the dwelling place of the wicked? And it's very poetic what he's saying here, but it's actually a major point. Have you not asked those who travel the road and do not know their signs, and the wicked are reserved for the day of doom? What he's saying in verse 27, 28, 29, that little section right there, he's saying you got the wrong stories. Why don't you talk to somebody? This is really good. Why don't you talk to somebody that's going down that road? You're telling all these stories, but you're telling the wrong stories. You need to tell the stories of those that are on that road. And that is so true when it comes to difficulty. One of the things that we'll do here at the church is we'll try to hook somebody up, somebody that's lost a child, and that's tragic. And I haven't lost a child, right? At this point in our life. But we have some really good friends in our church that have lost children. And so someone will lose a child, and I'll hook them up together because they've been down that road. And now that person has gone down that road and getting on the other side of that road, they're the ones that can minister. You have life journeys, things that you've done. You have life experiences, is a better word. You have life experiences that sometimes can help others. And so what does Where's that at? It says, it talks about it's the valley of Baca. It's the valley of the tears. And you make it a fertile place. You know, it's those tears. It's those tears that the people that follow you, that you can then help them through that. It's those tears that we go through. It's this life journey. So I'm really good with talking to people that were on drugs, all right, because I was on drugs. So people that are on LSD and on drugs, it was before meth was a big thing, praise God. It was before any of the stuff that really takes you out now. But the thing is this, is when I talk to people that are in that lifestyle, they hear the Unshackled program and stuff, or, you know, from our story, we can relate to those people because that's where we've been. That's where we've been. But for somebody that has been down the road of losing a spouse or losing a, you know, the grief ministry that we have here is phenomenal, because here's a group of people that have gone through those kind of things. And I can't imagine the grief that people go through. So you connect people. I know the biblical principles. I know where to point people to Jesus, but there's something about talking to somebody that's been there. Somebody that's been there. Some of you have been in places that I have not been. You know, you can minister on a level that I can't minister on because you've been there. Because I've been there. Let me tell you about my story. Oh, you're telling the wrong stories. Ask the person that has been down the road, Job is saying to them. Oh. Let's do one more. Let's get to round 3, friend 1. All right, and there's a couple things in here. Chapter 22. And you can read this. What? It's a lot. Again, this section has a lot of redundancy. In other words, there's a lot of, they're telling the same story, you know, the same thing over and over again, just different poetic ways. Eliphaz, last time for you, buddy. Good, I'm glad. I don't like you. Can a man be here he goes. He says, can a man be profitable to God, though he who is wise may be profitable to him? Is any pleasure to the mighty that you are righteous, or is it gain to him that you make your way blameless? Is it because of your fear of him that he reproves you? Is this because you're afraid of him? This is what's going on, and enter into judgment with you? Now notice what he does here. Is not your wickedness great, and your iniquity without end, that you have taken pledge? Listen to this. He's making this stuff up as he goes. That you have taken pledges from your brothers for no reason. You've stripped the naked of their clothing. That you have given their weary water to you've not given the weary water to drink, and you have withheld bread from none of this stuff is true. You've withheld bread from the hungry, and the mighty man possesses the land, and the honorable man dwells in it. You have sent widows away empty, and the strengths of the father. They're just making this stuff up. They're just making all these accusations up. And that's pretty difficult when that stuff begins to go down. You know, are you just making this up as you go? I was really kind of, I was really kind of super bummed out this morning because of what happened last night. It happened at Willow Creek Church. If you heard about this, there's been a lot of accusations against the pastor there. And, Bill Hybels is a man of God, and, God has used him. There's been a lot of accusations. There's accusations coming. The church loves to attack each other. There's been a lot of accusations. So they got an independent group that came in outside the church that's not biased, came in to see what's going on. They came out and says, this stuff's not true. They're accusing him about. Stuff is not true. But it had done enough damage because of the lies that had been told, some of the things that had been told, it had done enough damage that he had to step down as their pastor. This is huge. This is huge because this is a pastor that God has used greatly. Now, he was going to retire at the end of the year. He just said, you need to watch what he had to say, because you got a man that's just saying, for the church's sake, the media, what the media has done and what's gone on in the church, he just needed to step aside. And it was a bunch of lies. Just stuff was said about him that wasn't true. And, how sad is that? How sad is that? It's the gal that went around and told lies about somebody, and she felt remorseful the next day. And so she told gossip and stories and lies about this person, and she felt remorseful the next day. And so she went to her pastor and said, Pastor, I just feel remorseful. I don't know what I can do. He says, here, I want you to take this pillow, And I want you to take all this down pillow with all these feathers. I want you to take this pillow. I want you to walk from here to your house, a couple blocks down. I want you to take these pillows. I want you to take, as you're going, I want you to take all those feathers. I want you to remove them. So she did that. He says, come back tomorrow. I'll tell you about why I had you do that. And so she did that and all the way to the house and got rid of the feathers. So next day came by and he said, okay, Pastor, I did that. What's the deal? He says, now I want you to go today and I want you to go collect all of those. Well, could she do it? No. See, when we start getting that stuff out there like that, you can't get it back. It takes a life of its own. And boy, that happens. It's just weird to me. I don't know if it's happened all along in the church. Yes, it has, because the Bible talks about, that's why we have these books in the Bible, in the New Testament, these letters, because Paul's dealing with screwed up churches, gossip and backbiting, all this stuff. But you just don't think it should be that way when it's the family of God. And I see that here. Here you have, now just think about this story. These are friends that say they know God. These are the Christians. This is the family of God. Look how they're treating one another. Look how they're treating a hurt person. You can't get that back. Now, Job is, again, this is important. Job is going to receive his healing when he forgives them, because you got to forgive. Even when you've been hurt, you got to forgive. Even when it's lies, you got to forgive. You got to forgive because it holds you hostage. It doesn't hold them hostage. Holds you hostage. But when you start saying something about someone, just see it as you're throwing little feathers out there. And you can't get those back. They take a life of their own. And sometimes it completely destroys people. How many people are going to get hurt? Big time hurt because of these accusations. Big time hurt. And whether they're true or not, if they're true, yes, he needs to step down, needs to get some help, and you need to deal with the stuff in the church. But when it becomes something that becomes, because of the church and because of the media, when it becomes something that's so public like that, it's a zero-win scenario. Everybody gets hurt. Even if it's a complete lie, everybody gets hurt. So maybe as God's kids, if we see something going down and we don't understand why, maybe we got to ask the Lord, help us to be a healer. Help us to be somebody that loves and heals and helps, not like Job's friends that just go after him. And now this dude is just making stuff up as he goes, and he gets worse and worse and worse. So, and that is so good right there. We're going to pick that up again, right? I'm going to mark it right there. There it is. We're going to come back to round 3, friend 1. Not very final round on this thing. What can we learn from this? Well, there's a lot of things to learn from this book. Sometimes stuff just happens. But I think tonight, it's really helpful for us to understand that when things happen to you and when happen to others, be a person of compassion. Be a person not of gossip, not of loving to hear all the issues going on. Be a person that's a healing spirit and not a ripping and tearing. And sometimes you just need to do what Job said. You just need to shut your face. You just need to do, I told my daughter yesterday this, and just be a smart aleck to her because I love her a lot. And I said, she was getting on my case, rightly so, about something. And I said, your mouth is doing this, and it should be doing this. Now, that wasn't true of her because she was saying things I needed to hear, and that's my daughter. And I can't make her go to her room anymore because she doesn't live at our house, But I think sometimes we should be doing, when we're doing this, sometimes we really should be doing this. And we should be doing this. And we should be praying and seeking God. All right, Job, we'll come back to you. We got probably, unless I start rambling, we got about maybe 2 more times, and then God shows up. When God shows up, we're going to slow this thing down quite a bit. God says some things that is pretty wild. He's even going to talk about dinosaurs. Where do you put them in the Bible? Stay tuned. Stay tuned. We'll get to that. Father, we love you so much. And Lord, it's walking through it's kind of like eavesdropping sometimes as we go through this, Lord. Eavesdropping on a very, very difficult situation. A conversation that probably shouldn't have even been had between friends. But Lord, we learn some things. We learn a lot of things. Each one of us will take home tonight something that you showed us from your word. But Lord, help us to be faithful to you. Help us to love. When words are flying, Lord, help us to bring peace and love to one another. And when our hearts are broken and when our skin is like Job's, when our life is in turmoil, Lord, help us to love. And Lord, when our friends are going through turmoil, Lord, help us to love. Help us to be comforters and not detractors. We need you, Jesus. Life is hard sometimes, Lord, but you're always faithful. And I know that my Redeemer lives, and we will see him one day. But Lord, today you're Emmanuel, God with us. So help us to live in the light of who you are right now, right here. We love you, Jesus. Help us to keep our eyes on you, even when it's hard, in Jesus' name. And everyone said, amen, amen and amen. All right, love you, mean it, get out.